We may be far away from Colorado Springs and Pueblo in southern Colorado, but right here in Times Square, Manning is represented. As you can see, we are in Times Square in New York City. It is alive with energy and with lights. There are a ton of Super Bowl fans out here right now that are ready to take part in the festivities. And if you can believe it, there are even Broncos fans out here right now. Take a listen.
Go Broncos.
Come on.
Go Broncos.
Yes, going for the Broncos.
All the way?
All the way, yeah.
So do you have like a favorite player?
Manning.
Manning, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. What do you like about him?
I don't know, he's a good player. He plays with his heart.
Today is Media Day. Going to be a lot of frenzy. We're going to hear from all of the players, including Peyton Manning and some of the other big ones. We're going to bring those to you tonight on News 5.
That's right. She joins us now live tonight from Times Square. And Jen, a lot of sights and sounds in New York City. Look at you.
Oh my gosh, you would not believe it. It is just overwhelming, Lisa and Rob. So much fun. And of course, the Super Bowl is actually in New Jersey, but areas that surround New Jersey, like right here in New York City, are definitely seeing the benefit as fans pour in to not only enjoy the game, but to take in the sights. And while we may be several days out from the big game, there are still plenty of things and events to take part in right here in New York City. In fact, check this out. This is an ice sculpture of the Lombardi Trophy. It's definitely cold enough for it to stay frozen solid. Many of the fans from our area won't arrive until later this week, but there were still Broncos fans to be found in Times Square tonight.
Denver's going to kick.
Okay, so why do you think that?
They just are, I know. I could tell by the way they've been playing all year. It's going to be a great one.
Yes, going for the Broncos.
All the way?
All the way, yeah.
So do you have like a favorite player?
Manning.
Manning, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. What do you like about him?
I don't know, he's a good player. He plays with his heart.
Yeah, you know, we talked to a lot of fans out here tonight, both fans of the Broncos and not so much fans of the Broncos, but one thing that everybody was saying was that they love Peyton Manning, and can you blame them? Now, tomorrow is Media Day, which is both hectic and exciting, of course. We're going to be hearing from Broncos and Seahawks players. Make sure to tune in for live coverage of that tomorrow night right here on KOAA. For now, we are live in Times Square, New York City. I'm Jennifer Horbelt for News 5. Back to you guys.
Jennifer Horbelt, who is in New York City for us tonight live, was there for it all. Jen, a great time to find out more about the players.
Absolutely, Lisa and Rob, it really is. But Media Day is also a great time for fans to learn a little bit more about their favorite players like Wes Welker, Peyton Manning, and Champ Bailey. Music and celebration today in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center just moments before the Broncos, led by Peyton Manning, took to the floor to talk with the media for more than an hour. And yes, they talked about what it will take to win the game and what they think about the Seahawks' abilities, but we also heard nuggets like whether wide receiver Wes Welker has any pregame rituals and what keeps linebacker Danny Trevathan motivated.
You got to be an animal out there, especially a linebacker, man. You can't take crap from nobody. You know, you got to be an animal out there, you know. But you got to be a leader, and you got to play smart as well, because it's a lot of eyes watching, man. You want to set a great example for the youth and also for the people that's watching it and love the game of football.
You know, I just get there really early, and about 4 hours before the game, and just have a whole routine that I just kind of go through.
All sorts of questions asked today, and here's something that's kind of interesting. You probably noticed how intensely packed it was there at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. More than 6,300 people were credentialed with the media. That's not including the fans that were there in the stands to also take part. Now, Jordan Mason is going to have much more of the nitty and gritty from Super Bowl 48 Media Day. That's coming up in sports. And then coming up on News 5 at 10, Media Day wasn't the only attention getter out here. Why, a series of billboards that are up right now in New Jersey concerning the NFL, alcohol, and pot are raising a lot of eyebrows and a lot of controversy. And of course, one of the big events at the Super Bowl Boulevard is the toboggan run, and I just had to give it a try, so I'm headed up there now. It was a long, steep, cold walk and a little intimidating as I watched others head down ahead of me, but I gave it my all when I got to the top. Second place, that's not too bad though. Thank you so much. Just one of many fun events to take part in here at Super Bowl Boulevard in New York City. Jennifer Horbelt, News 5. And I can tell you firsthand, intense security is not just limited to Super Bowl Sunday. As we've made our way back and forth between New York and New Jersey, there is an obvious increased presence of security and law enforcement. Now, following up for you now on a story we brought you last night on News 5 at 10, a petition calling for the NFL to loosen its policies regarding punishing players who use recreational marijuana was delivered this morning. Take a look.
I'm just taking the proposal and I'll bring it to the NFL.
The Marijuana Policy Project is responsible for the petition of about 12,500 signatures, and that NFL representative told us he'd pass it on to the higher-ups in the league. Now, the MPP is also responsible for these billboards surrounding MetLife Stadium, claiming alcohol and football are more dangerous than pot. The MPP tells us this Super Bowl was the perfect time to get their message out there, with both teams hailing from states that recently legalized recreational marijuana. Okay, enough of the serious stuff. Let's talk some fun. You can see behind me, blocks and blocks are shut down for Super Bowl Boulevard here in Times Square, and we were right in the thick of it earlier this afternoon. Take a look. That's the toboggan run. And that ride was a blast, but boy, it was cold. I wasn't the only one taking part in the fun either. Plenty of others braved the temperatures to ride the toboggan today, and they are still riding it tonight, as you can see. There is so much to do down there, and it all runs through Saturday night. We're going to continue to bring you the sights, sounds, and people of Super Bowl 48 right here on KOAA 5. For now, we are live from Times Square. Jennifer Horbelt, News 5.
And Jen, what is law enforcement doing to protect everyone?
Well, they're doing plenty, guys. Multiple agencies are coming together to make sure that fans stay safe. This is the first mass transit Super Bowl, so extra security efforts are absolutely vital here. Take a look. We got a first-hand look today at those efforts at New York City's Penn Station. The Viper teams, that stands for Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response, are being deployed by the TSA and federal air marshals. They're working in conjunction with city and state law enforcement and Amtrak train services to make sure commuters and the fans get to and from their destinations safely.
What I can tell you from where I sit, there are a lot of agencies working very hard for the past 2 years to make this one of the safest events around.
The Viper teams also include transportation security officers, BDOs, detection behavioral officers. We have screening ability, we have protection behavioral ability. So the Viper teams are prepared to handle any sort of activity.
Now, they stress there is no threat right now, and they aim to keep it that way with an increased presence. They are encouraging the public to report any activity they believe may seem suspicious. Now, of course, at the end of the day, it is all about making sure the fans stay safe and have a great time, including people from southern Colorado. We ran into two families, one from Pueblo, one from Colorado Springs, at Super Bowl Boulevard today.
I like Denver.
Amid the insanity of Super Bowl Boulevard.
Colorado Springs.
Absolutely. Colorado Springs flew out here to go see Denver crush Seahawks.
Some faces from home. Joshua and Stephanie Lechner can't believe they're here for this.
This is just sensory overload being in New York City.
I'm just not used to this since I'm from Pueblo, and it's nothing close to Pueblo.
They weren't the only ones.
I feel really lucky. It's really awesome.
Nick Weierbach and his mom Amy also made the trip out for their Broncos.
Pueblo is 100% Bronco mania all the time, whether they're doing great or doing bad.
These local fans on the ride of their lives as the Broncos continue their ride all the way to the Super Bowl.
My prediction, 24-17 Denver, baby.
There you go. It was so nice to see some locals out here today. And guys, most of the people that I talked to, whether Broncos or Seahawks fans, agrees this is going to be a tough game. Both teams very strong and are definitely going to have to leave it all on the field if they want to take home that Lombardi trophy. All right, take a look at this awesome Broncos fan. This is 86-year-old Helen Mather. She has spent decades collecting Broncos memorabilia. Every room in her home in Florence is covered in orange and blue. Mather says she hasn't missed a single game since the 80s.
Nobody ever bothers me. on the Bronco game. They know I'm going to watch the Bronco game.
And Mather has some of her own game day traditions. Let's just say it includes a shot and a shout out. For now, we are live from Times Square, New York City. Jennifer Horbelt, News 5. Back to you. Hey, Zach. Yeah, it's been a big week here in New York and in New Jersey as crews are working around the clock to make sure that everything is safe and ready to go for fans and players, and also that MetLife Stadium is ready to welcome tens of thousands of people tomorrow. Today we got our first look inside MetLife Stadium, where you can see the end zones have been painted, one for the Broncos, one for the Seahawks, and it looks like the stage is set for tomorrow's big matchup. We're not the only ones who got a peek inside the stadium today. Check out this picture of Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning and team executive Vice President John Elway scoping out the field with their game faces on, of course. Now back here in New York, today happened to be the last day of Super Bowl Boulevard. I'm going to let my photographer pan off for a minute and show you the absolute pandemonium down there below us. It's not quite New Year's Eve, but boy, it sure does look like it. It was just shoulder to shoulder down there today. Take a look at these unbelievable crowds from earlier this afternoon. People were lined up for blocks to see the Lombardi Trophy, to take a ride on the toboggan run, and to see anything and everything celebrating the Super Bowl. Amidst those insane crowds, we ran into several people from southern Colorado, including Frank Jordan and his son Gary. They're here from Pueblo in Colorado City. The two are longtime Broncos fans, and Frank was lucky enough to have his name drawn for the right to buy 2 tickets. He decided to take his son, and today they decided to explore Super Bowl Boulevard.
It's crazy, but it's such, I am really impressed between the Seahawks and the Broncos that it's going on so well. Everybody's having fun, and that's what this is all about.
He has a real point. We saw a lot of competitive spirit, but everybody was really pretty nice to each other. The two have been to New York City before, but have never seen it quite like this, with their team about to play for the ultimate glory. And finally, it is so important for us to put this out there. There was an unreal amount of Broncos pride and spirit down there at Super Bowl Boulevard today. Here's just a taste of what we saw and heard from Broncos fans earlier this afternoon.
Go Broncos! Go Broncos!
One Super Bowl ring for Champ Bailey. 2 for Peyton Manning. 3 for John Elway. So go Broncos go. So won't ya root for the orange and blue? The Broncos will win everything if we root for the orange and blue.
Hey, we're gonna make it. We're number 1. We're gonna do that stuff. Yeah, ride that horse.
You guys look great.
There's the blue feathers right there. Guess what wing they came off of?
Seahawks.
And I got to admit, I love that Elvis Broncos fan. He was hilarious. We're going to be back here live tonight from Times Square in New York City, and then starting tomorrow morning, bright and early, we're going to be live from MetLife Stadium, bringing you all of the pregame action. And then coming up tomorrow night at 10, we'll have all of the action from the big game.
News 5's Jennifer Horbelt has been covering it all for us with live reports since Monday. Jen, you sat in MetLife Stadium for today's game, a final live report from the East Coast. Disappointing for sure, but what an exhilarating ride to get to this point.
Oh my gosh, it was unbelievably exhilarating. The fans were so excited to be here tonight. And of course, it went from excitement to a whole lot of disappointment. And Broncos fans really are. They are very disappointed. It all started with that safety that Greg mentioned there in the first 12 seconds, and then it just seemed to go downhill from there for Denver. That safety, though, only the 7th in all of Super Bowl history, so it's a pretty rare thing. Here's a look at the field after the game. Everybody expected this to be a tough game, but nobody expected it to be what it was tonight. It was a blowout with Seattle dominating Denver on the Super Bowl field. First, it was that safety, then touchdown after touchdown for the Seahawks. The Broncos did score, but it was too little too late. You could see in the third quarter, Bronco fans visibly defeated. And really, the players looked it too. And I heard a lot of disappointment from fans on Facebook, also fans in the stadium sitting around me in the stands. Still, loyal fans are telling me tonight they're going to stay that way and keep the faith in their team.
I still love the Broncos. There's next year. There's absolutely next year. And I think Peyton Manning is going to come back with a vengeance.
We live in Denver. We watch them every single weekend. We're here in New York. Boom. They lost. Still, great game. Loved it. We had a time of our life.
Absolutely love our team. Go Broncos! Go Broncos!
And boy, while it was a somber ending for Broncos fans, as you can imagine, it was pure pandemonium on the field for Seattle and the team's fans who are experiencing their first Super Bowl victory. Confetti was everywhere as the Lombardi Trophy was brought out, and Seahawks coach Pete Carroll held it high, passed it on to quarterback Russell Wilson, then game MVP Malcolm Smith. And shortly after, the celebrating coach John Fox congratulated the Seahawks, saying the Broncos just simply got outplayed. And no matter how you are feeling tonight about the outcome, there is no denying, and we heard this from fans throughout the stands tonight, also on Facebook, that this has been an amazing ride this season with the team, and also for fans, and many of them, of course, can't wait to see what the Broncos are going to do next year. For now, we are live in MetLife Stadium. Jennifer Horbelt, News 5.